When it comes to making an offer on a home in North Carolina, there are 17 things about the contract that you really should know. Stick with me for the next 9 minutes because I'm going to break each one of these down so that you will have an edge when it comes time for you to write an offer to purchase on a home. And as a thank you for listening, drop me a note and I will send you my complete area guide that breaks down property taxes, all the different amenities by town here around the local Charlotte, Lake Norman area. If you haven't met yet, my name is Wendy Atherton, and I've helped buyers transact millions of dollars worth of real estate all around Lake Norman. My clients trust me because of my deep market expertise, my tailored advice, and my ability to negotiate excellent deals. In fact, my clients on average pay 4.1% less for their house than what the average agent is able to negotiate. That's real money in your pocket. So let's dive in. Writing an offer isn't just about the price. If you don't fully understand the North Carolina offer to purchase, then you're probably not taking advantage of certain aspects in the contract, or you're potentially opening yourself up to risk by not understanding the offer that maybe you're making. So here's what you need to know. Number one, there's no contingencies in North Carolina. This is a big surprise sometimes for people who are coming here from other states, where they're used to maybe having an option to exit their contract during the inspection period. In our state, when you make an offer, you will write in a length of time called the due diligence period, and you will also negotiate and pay upfront a due diligence fee. That fee is due upon acceptance of the contract. So the important thing here to know is that if you are unable to buy the house, you don't want to buy the house, you can't make an agreement during the inspection period to purchase the house with the seller, you can exit the contract, but you lose your due diligence. Number two, due diligence and earnest money. So again, due diligence is a fee that is due once a contract is accepted, and you're going to write a check right to the seller. Earnest money is money that is held in escrow. Now, if you don't purchase the house and you make that decision during your due diligence period, then you get your earnest money back. But if you don't, if you wait until after that period is ended, then you're going to forfeit your earnest money as well. Now, keep in mind, you get both of these credited back to you at closing, but it's just really important to think through the house that you're purchasing and how much you're extending yourself in terms of due diligence and earnest money. Number three, due diligence timing. So your due diligence is due once you are under contract to purchase the house. And it doesn't matter. So you might decide to change your mind 5 minutes after, maybe you see another house come on the market you really like and you want to terminate that contract. You can terminate that contract, but technically you owe the seller that due diligence check. And if you don't want to pay it, they can actually take you to court to try to get a judgment against you to pay it. Number four, attorney handled closings. So in North Carolina, real estate transactions must be closed by a real estate attorney. That real estate attorney who handles the closing works for you as the buyer. So that's really great news. Now, what a lot of people don't take advantage of or don't think about is that real estate attorney is a great resource for you at other points during the transaction. So it's pretty common that we may ask a question of your real estate attorney during the offer period or during inspections. Number five, the settlement date. You want to think through this date. This is the date that you're planning to close. What's important to know here is that you want to make sure that your lender, for example, can close on that day. Now, the contract does give both parties the ability to push closing 7 days, but after that, then you start to worry about being in breach of contract. So if your lender can't get it together and you have to push your closing off and the seller does not agree to extend you maybe another 10 days or 2 weeks or however long it is, then you're at risk of losing your money. Number six, fixtures versus personal property. So in the offer to purchase, there's a list of fixtures, and those are things that convey with the house. So those are things like bathroom mirrors. Those are things like water softening systems. There's a whole list of items that are standard in terms of conveying with the house. Now there's personal property, and a great example of that in North Carolina is the refrigerator. So a kitchen refrigerator is considered personal property. If you want the refrigerator, then you better make sure that your agent has written that in as personal property. We'll talk a little bit more about personal property in a bit. Number seven, furniture and your cost basis. So we're in a location where we have a lot of second homes. There's a lot of short-term rentals. And there are people that will sell their properties with furniture as an option. If you're going to be purchasing a significant amount of personal property, for example, if you're going to be purchasing more than like the refrigerator, then that's probably going to need to go on a bill of sale. That keeps it separate from the real property. And you want to make sure that that bill of sale is very thorough and that you're covering everything that you think you're getting in terms of that personal property. Number 8, North Carolina is an as-is state, so you are buying the property as is. You, of course, have the right to inspect, which we always recommend that you do, but just realize that the seller doesn't have to do anything. They're not required to make repairs. They're not required to give you a credit. Now, a seller is in their best interest typically to do so that the contract continues and goes through. However, just realize that they don't have to. Now, if the seller decides not to make a significant repair and you exit the contract, they're going to have to disclose that to the next buyer, but that doesn't help you a whole lot. That's why it's important to really think through how much due diligence and earnest money you're willing to offer. Number 9, financing is not a contingency. It is a disclosure in the offer to purchase. So it's you're going to outline how you're going to pay for the property, and you're going to indicate if you have another home that you need to sell in order to buy the next house. But it doesn't make your offer contingent, and it doesn't protect your money. And I see a lot of agents not understand how this works. So again, this is why it's really important to make sure that you have your financing conditions really tightened up. Number 10, property disclosures. So in North Carolina, the seller is going to complete a property disclosure, a mineral oil and gas disclosure, and depending on the age of the property, a lead-based paint disclosure. Now, the property disclosure can be very informative because it can give you an idea of how old certain things are in your property. Is the roof original? How old is the HVAC system? Are they disclosing any moisture issues, for example? So it's really important to keep an eye on that. Pay attention to what's included in that property disclosure up front. Number 11, exiting the contract. Now, here's the good news. You as the buyer can exit the contract at any point in time. You could even walk away at the closing table if you don't want to buy the house. Now, you're gonna forfeit all of your due diligence and your earnest money, but those are the liquidated damages that you would incur, and of course, you're going to be out your inspection fees. The seller, however, cannot exit the contract. So if the seller makes a decision like, oh, I don't want to sell after all, you can actually sue them for something called specific performance, where they have to sell you the house. The other thing that I see buyers worry about sometimes is they think that if they ask for things during inspection, maybe they rock the boat and the seller will, not sell them the house. They don't have that option. You can ask for whatever you want. They can say no to everything, but it doesn't mean you can't ask. And they still have to sell you the house based on the terms in the contract. Number 12, binding offer. So in North Carolina, real estate contracts must be reduced to writing or they're not valid. So you may have verbal conversations, countering back and forth, talking through the terms of an offer. None of that matters until the offer is actually in writing and presented. So just know it has to be signed by both parties and communicated for you to be under contract. And again, once that happens, that's when your due diligence is due. Number 13, settlement credits. So asking for settlement credits or closing cost credits can be a really valuable thing to consider. And you could use your closing cost credits for a lot of different things. Frankly, I prefer to get a credit most of the time for things that you find during inspection versus have the seller fix them. It usually just works out better and you can get things fixed the way that you want. But you may also ask for closing cost credits to reduce the amount of cash you need to bring to closing for your other closing costs. And you might use it to offset other expenses like your buyer agency fees. Number 14, attorney drafted addendum. So one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize or don't leverage is the attorney who is representing you for your closing can also write custom addendums as part of your offer to purchase. And we do this pretty often. If there's something specific in the transaction up front that maybe both parties just aren't sure about, and you're going to want to know how that works out during your inspection, then an addendum can be a really valuable thing. And by the way, our attorneys that we work with don't charge our buyers anything to do that. It's just included in the service. 15, use your terms to help your negotiation. So you have a lot of levers in the contract. You have due diligence, you have earnest money, you have timing, you have the type of financing that you're going to be using, you have whether or not you're asking for closing cost credits. You have a lot of different tools in the actual offer to purchase. It's not just your offer price. So you can use these different things as levers to help you get to where you ultimately want to be. It's just important to think about each deal on the specifics of that deal. So for example, if it's an older house with a lot of older systems in it, maybe you want to try to minimize your due diligence fee because you know you're going to find things out during inspection. Or maybe the house looks like it's clean as a whistle and you feel really comfortable. And maybe by offering more due diligence, maybe they'll accept a little bit more of a competitive offer price. So it's just something that you want to work out with your agent at the time where we're making an offer. Number 16, solid financing, again, is key. There is no contingency. So you want to make sure that your lender has all of their ducks in order and that you can close on time reliably, because if you can't, again, you're at risk in terms of potentially losing money. Number 17, you don't have to be an expert. The important thing is to hire experts. So you want to make sure that you hire an agent that is qualified and really understands how the contract works in North Carolina so that you're most protected and that you can ultimately buy a home with the best terms and conditions for you. So here's the bottom line. Winning your dream home isn't just about the offer price. It's about all the other parts of the contract that come into place. If you'd like to talk through your specifics, you can either click the link, schedule a call with me, or shoot me an email or give me a phone call or text. I'd love to catch up.